50. Yeah. It's 50 Shades of Life. Let's talk about your type. Are your pockets feeling light?
Does your man treat you right?
Is your sex game lame? Are you searching for some fame? Hey yo, cuz, let's talk about it. Sex house, music wealth, truth itself. I knew myself. Boy, you better not lose yourself. But let me mind my own black business. Running up these digits, fresher than them dishes.
Tell you grant your wishes. I'm a tarot reading witness.
Yeah. 5-0. Yeah, 50.
Welcome to 50 Shades of Life. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Raquel Nicole with 50 Shades of Life. Welcome. Y'all, I'm super excited. Welcome to chapter 16. And of course, we have my beautiful, doesn't she look stunning today in her violets? It is, of course, the one and the only Black Magnolia Talia.
Hello.
What's going on with you, girl?
Nothing. I'm so excited to have our guests here. I'm so excited to talk to them.
Yeah.
So looking forward to today's episode.
All right. So I am raising 3 males. All right. And I got a daughter. She's coasting doing her thing though, right? But these 3 males, woo! So I felt like, we got to bring more men on the show for sure, right? Talia actually has raised a daughter. And the boys, y'all look, when y'all little, up to like your early 20s, it's a whole, you, Richard. Lord. So that's going to be a whole 3 episodes in the future. So y'all stay tuned. But today, we actually have, I really wanted to, if you guys tuned in a couple of weeks ago, a few chapters ago, we actually had Otis Bellinger on here. He's a licensed counselor. So this is a different vibe. This is a different situation. So I was actually talking to Mr., if you see him on here, Mr. Richard Winfrey. Give it up for Richard. What you call yourself? Big Daddy Richard.
No. See, now, I knew at the next opportunity you was going to mess that up. What did you do? You did not let me down. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dang.
So, and then we have Jarrell Mitchell. What up, though?
What up, though? Glad to be here.
That was perfect.
I ain't come up with his name yet. So Richard and I have like a history. I actually just found out that he is actually like my cousin by marriage.
Hey, cousin.
So we like, what up, though? So, but they actually have a podcast, and you guys have had your podcast for how long? And tell us the name of it. Give us a little background about your podcast.
Yeah, so we have been hosting, creating, and curating Mental Matters Podcast for just over 6 years now. It is a podcast dedicated to redefining man up properly for the culture. It includes all things for manhood, adulthood, and many times we often refer to jerk chicken because Jarrell, my brother in crime, he is literally like the master griller when it comes to making jerk chicken. Really? And for whatever strange reason, since we started this thing, every episode we found a way to talk about jerk chicken. I don't know how. I don't know why. But
wow.
It just works. So, yes. But we just wanted to break down that whole stigma behind Black men and mental illness because, we don't never talk about our things. But it was time for us to actually get those topics, talk about our things, and, kind of go from there. But fun fact, it was never supposed to be a podcast, so I'm surprised we're still around.
For real?
Yeah. Big facts.
So wait,
this is actually Jarrell's fault.
Okay, so wait, hold on. How did you guys? First of all, how did you meet, and how did you decide? How you have a podcast that wasn't supposed to be a podcast? That don't even make sense. What?
So the way it started was, me and Richard, we knew each other kind of like in passing because we both went to Wayne State and we were both studying engineering. So it was just like 2 Black males in engineering, and it's not like a lot of us engineering. So if you see one in the building, you basically just like got so much love, respect, adoration for it that you're basically unspoken family at that point, or friends or whatnot. So we basically knew each other from engineering. We're Facebook friends just because we had a lot of the same friends and network from the city. And then at the time, it was around 2017. I was about to get married. So I had made a Facebook status like, hey, it'd be cool if there was like some sort of like organization where men, young and old, husbands, fathers, men that were divorced, just to like instill like the wisdom and just be like a knowledge tree or a knowledge share for those who are like coming through different phases of life. So for me, I was getting married, so that's something I wanted to like understand how to be a good husband, how to be supportive, all those things that come with it. So I made that status on Facebook. Richard messaged me on Facebook probably like 30 minutes after I made it and was like, hey, why don't we expand on this? And then we ended up meeting like at a Panera Bread to like talk about it. And then the podcast came up. So then I was like, let's just do it. You know, it was kind of like Richard's idea for the podcast. It was like my idea for like just like having like the knowledge share part of it. It seemed like it was the best way to include like the whole community within the discussion. And, you know, being that it follows like an episodic type of build, it would allow us to have multiple discussions anytime we felt like it. So I was with it. So that's kind of like the foundation of our podcast.
That's dope. So give us your like handles, to give us like where can people go and how frequent are you recording it? Like break that down for us. And
every other Monday we're dropping up an episode. We do have a website, mentalmatterspodcast.com. You can find us on all the social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook. I'm gonna call it Twitter because I don't believe in X's. Twitter, TikTok. If you search the Mental Matters Podcast, you'll see a really cool graffiti looking logo, or you'll see our faces, and so that's how you know you're in the right spot.
That's cool. I love hearing that. And we actually just talked about this right before, you know, we tuned in, but it is May. So this is Mental Health Month, which is very, very important. I know professionally we are definitely talking about it, but personally here, we wanted to definitely highlight that because I think, I know social media brings awareness to a lot of stuff, but I think the one thing that it has brought the most to is how much more work we have to do as a community, right? Yes. We see so many suicides. We're seeing, you know, kids being harmed. Literally, I just saw a 3-year-old, the news broke right before I logged in. A 3-year-old got shot by their mother, and then she shot herself. There was another one where a pastor's wife called and said, I just want to make sure you guys can find me. And the 911 caller said, what do you mean? She said, I'm about to kill myself. And they were initially thinking the pastor did it, you know, and he was like, I didn't have anything to do with it. So mental health is serious, right? And we never want anyone to get anywhere near that side of the railroad track, you know. So we want to make sure that, you know, in our Black community, we especially highlight it because it has been the one culture that I think has been like the slowest to receive it, accept it, speak about it, and do what we need to do about it. So I applaud you guys for sure for starting that. And you said 6 years? That's how long you guys been doing it?
Yeah, and I'm going to actually throw this little gem out here too. And in addition to that, first and foremost, to be clear, we are not mental health experts by any means of nature. We're just people that can talk about it because we've been through some things.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Jay-Z's 444, but when he dropped that album, there was a thing called the footnotes, if you will, on like Tidal. And they talked about a lot of, it was a couple of different spaces they were talking like as men about their things. And I was like, in my head, as Jarrell kind of mentioned, he had his own vision for it. I was like, I want to do something like that. That'd be dope. But I have no idea who to do this with. And then I saw his Facebook status. I was like, bro, DM me now. I got to talk to you. And so sometimes we reach out and get, you know, counselors, therapists, other mental health advocates, if you will, or just fellow Black women or Black men or Black women that, you know, advocate for Black men. So that's our biggest thing is this is a community effort. It's a community discussion. And as long as the good Lord will have us to do this, we're going to keep having these discussions. So
I love it. I am definitely an advocate for it. I think, you know, Talia is also about self-awareness and her yogi moves and stuff like that. And
no, I cannot. Not a yogi move.
Yogi moves is crazy.
not a yoga move, but so when you were talking about your mental health matters and you guys have gone through some of your struggles, I know you probably talk about this on your own platforms. Is anxiety one of the things that you experienced or anything like that? Have you had issues with that?
I have to a degree. Career wise, I've had it, dealing with certain situations like with addiction, not myself per se, but actually like a couple of days ago, it was a situation in which I was very, very we kick it. We basically all cousins on this call, at least. A couple of days ago, one of my biggest fears was, and we'll talk about this I believe later, but one of my biggest fears was actually for my mother to meet my daughter. And it's not necessarily that, traditionally I don't want her to meet her grandmother, but that's weird. But my mother had a long-standing history of alcoholism and addiction. And this has been 20 plus years now. And one of my biggest fears and anxieties was she's going to drop my baby. She's going to harm my baby. I have a heightened awareness right now as a new father,
yes.
As a husband, as a new father, etc. Like, hey, listen, I don't play that. Yeah. So she actually found her way, strangely, to come to our house, basically, for lack of better words, barge into our front door, just to say she's seen the baby. She was drunk, she was belligerent, she was annoying. And I said, I hope you enjoyed this moment, because since you curated such a terrible moment, I'm gonna make sure that's your lasting memory with her.
Wow.
And that alone took a lot of anxiety, just kind of, how do you keep your parent away from your child? Like, that's crazy. But at the same token, I learned in therapy, and shout out to Otis, for lack of better words. Full circle, baby. Full circle. I learned in therapy that sometimes your best move is just knowing that she's around and she's alive without even needing to tap in with her or them, whoever it is.
No.
And
I agree with you.
That can look different depending on your relationship. At first, it was simply, I would just call just to make sure she was good. I would let her call, make sure she could talk to me. But after that, I'm just like, in this season,
it's a whole different situation.
Somebody will find me. I'm sure. She talks to my family, obviously, because she's family. So they'll find a way to tell me.
Wow.
So
is that a big part of your story that caused you guys to even bring up and you to have this? It basically, is this your story? Is, your mother is that catalyst for you in terms of that caused, your anxiety or your issues, or the reason why you even wanted to start this podcast? Is that like your big story behind it?
It adds to it.
Yeah.
Because, every black man, I think, all black men need therapy, especially black people. Right? So I would joke and say this is my villain story, but I'm not a villain in most cases. Maybe in gym shoes, but that's Jarrell's fault. But my biggest claim to things is knowing, hey, I'm a black man that's been through something, and I don't mind talking about it no matter what space I'm in. Yeah. And hopefully, if other people hear that story or my experiences with, my mental health, et cetera, that it may help somebody else learn from a situation like that or open up about that situation. So I would say it adds to it. And, between that, my father's, and me and his story, rest his soul, to just other interactions I've just had, just traversing this earth, if you will, it just helps, right? So I think that allows us to be able to talk on the multiple ranges of our experiences as a black man. So,
gotcha. And Jarrell, so what is your story?
So for me, I would say professionally, I dealt with imposter syndrome. Like coming out of college, studying engineering, like entering the work field, starting my career. I would say I started off on the right foot, but then maybe like 4 years into my career, there were layoffs done. And so I was laid off, but I got like a good package and everything like that. But just me trying to like get back on my feet from that, like it was a blow to like my ego a little bit.
Yeah.
I realize that now because I ended up getting another position, maybe like 3 or 4 months after I got laid off.
Mhm.
But I took that position and it offered like significantly less pay, and I just took it because I'm just like, yeah, like
It's a job.
yeah, it was a
Yeah.
job, but it wasn't necessarily something that like somebody of my stature and what I had studied should have agreed to. Um,
Mhm.
so basically, me just going through and working at that position for like 2 years, and then eventually just understanding like this is not for me. I just walked away from it after 2 years. Actually, during the pandemic, like
Mhm.
early 2021, I was just like, yeah, this is not it. And ended up doing real estate full time with one of my well, actually the broker who sold my wife and I our home. Ended up doing real estate with her for like a good 7 months in 2021 until I found an engineering position that was going to pay me what I wanted. So
Wow.
um, it's like I had to go through basically I put myself through 2 years of just not feeling like worthy, I guess.
Yeah.
And then coming out on the other end of that, demanding what I needed, you know. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like my story from a professional standpoint. Um, but as far as like anxiety, people always ask me why I'm so quiet, right? So I always tell people, you know, if we're close enough to have the conversation, I'll tell them like when I was 9 years old, like in the third grade, I had a friend in school that was actually like murdered. Um, so I feel like a lot of the reasons why I'm like the person I am, like, I'm the type of person that will sit back and observe everything, the type of person that will listen and then speak after everyone else has spoken. A lot of that, I believe, stems from having that situation happen because
Wow.
when it happened on a Friday. We went to school on a Monday, and it was just like, okay, yeah, he's not here, he's not coming back because it was on the news and everything over the weekend. And
Mm.
I still talk to some of my friends from elementary school now, and I'm just like, I still can't believe like we went to school on that Monday and none of the teachers even addressed that had even happened, right? Like
Wow.
they weren't there was no counselors there for us to talk
Mm.
to. There were no it was kind of like they were telling us like, well, you live in the inner city, it's
Like
gonna
suck
happen
it up.
again type of thing. Yeah, it was like
That's
you're gonna
so.
get used to this eventually, right? So I feel like a
Wow.
lot of my character and like
That's crazy.
how I move around in life and how I'm always a person that's just always so observant, it
Hmm.
stems a little bit from that.
Wow. You know, and
Yeah.
I
So
did pick
Ivy,
that up,
oh,
like, right when we joined. Of course, we
Hmm.
had Richard over here eating his chicken patty or whatever that thing was.
That's strike two. That's just strike two. That's just strike
And
two, fam. Like, hey,
look, we gonna plug this. Shout out to Costco. I'm about to go tomorrow and go get whatever he was eating.
and they amazing cookies in the same location. We'll
You
talk.
gotta.
I'm a foodie. We're gonna talk about this all day. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We gonna talk about jerk chicken, and we gonna talk about whatever this food was he was eating that was looking really good from Costco. What was it called?
Chicken bake.
Chicken bake. I thought he was just talking
chicken
about like
bake.
a rotisserie chicken, but it was like a
Yeah,
whole
I'm just
like.
sitting here smashing a rotisserie chicken. Just what? Come on, dog.
That's
That's
normal
just
to eat a
strike three,
rotisserie
actually.
chicken.
I lied.
He
That's strike
said,
three.
but and then you have Jarrell. He comes on and he's quiet, and he's like hi. He just made his way in. Meanwhile, he's like hi. I'm like, so, but no, I did observe it, and that's really sad. And unfortunately, that's not the first time I've heard that. When it's different. I grew up in the suburbs, so I grew up in Troy, and if something like that happened, and it is a little bit rare, but that doesn't mean that whether it happened one time or 100 times, you don't acknowledge it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because
Mhm.
somebody lost somebody,
Yeah.
right? So whether it was one person or this person was so popular and it affected 1,000, like you should treat it the same. You know what I'm saying? But for sure, if something like that happened in the suburbs, you better believe it's counseling. Do you need time off? We're going to have this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. So it is so sad to hear
Mhm.
that. And that's one of the problems, right? Is you're teaching these kids, it's all right, suck it up. You're going to go through this again. It's almost like
Mhm.
foreshadowing,
Right.
more death, and it's just
Mhm.
like, whoa, like, hold on, you got to teach them, like, how do they deal with this? Because right now, one of them may be dealing with anger. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to go after the person that did this, even if it was an accident. Or you could be dealing, it's so many emotions, right? And that can affect somebody for life. Like, he's, you know, a whole grown man, and it's still, that is embedded for life. And it literally created, as he described, his personality. You know what I'm saying? So, wow. Well, I'm very thankful to have you guys on here for sure. So, but Talia, I know you wanted to ask a question. Talia usually got like,
I've been waiting.
They call me the question. They call me a certain name. But my cousin, she the one that got all the questions. And I know y'all got questions too, though. So, but go ahead. Let's transition.
Is it my internet? Because I feel, is it me? Is it me, Jesus? Okay. All right.
I'm not Jesus, but I think it's you, though.
Okay. All right. Okay, so then I have two follow-up questions that I wanted to ask. Okay. How did you get over your imposter syndrome is what I wanted to know. Like, what did you do?
So when I think about it, it's not necessarily something that I did. I feel like I was just there living in that space. And then there became a point where I realized I was like, this is not it for me. Like, I had been working for like a manager at the time that I felt was, she cared. Like, so for instance, I would make a PowerPoint slide and we would review it. And I felt like it was times where she was caring more about the font, the color schemes, more so than the content and the data that I was presenting. And I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, we're engineers, like, we don't really care about font colors, font sizes. It's all about how do we make processes better? What is the data saying? How do we find savings? How do we save time, money, labor, things of that nature? So that was like the strike one for me. And then that happened multiple times, actually. And then there was just times where I had been, like, when I came into the company, I was promised, like, hey, after a year, you're going to be up for review. You know, you will have the opportunity to move over to this part of the organization, and then that will give you this type of raise, or you'll have this option. So after that review came up, it was more so like, we like where you're at right now. Like, you can just stay here for another year, and we'll continue to groom you. And I'm just like, I've already taken like a significant pay cut. Like, it's time for me to get back, like, what, you know, was promised to me during the interviewing process and the conversations that we had. So it kind of just boiled to a point where I would have discussions with my wife, and I'm just like, yeah, this is not it. So it was kind of just, it just came to like a head type of thing. Not really me, you know, at that time I wasn't in therapy. At that time I didn't really have a therapist to talk to. It was just kind of, this doesn't make sense for my career anymore. And I just left the situation.
Wow. So wait, they said to you, nah, you're good where you at. That's literally what this.
Basically, yeah. Yep.
Tell you, that goes back to, what was that, chapter 14, when we were talking about when to leave that job? That right there. All right, I'm good.
Exactly.
You are financially, you know, able to. We don't want you leaving a job, right? And you still got a mortgage or a kid or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Child
like, I need
care.
y'all to think smart. Yeah, child care, whatever it is, or the fact that you like, I only got $12 in my account, but I'm about to quit. I'm gonna need you to ride that out, a couple more paychecks. You know what I'm saying? Get a couple things together, and then you can walk in and say deuces. So,
I want to add to that. I mean, I understand like financially that you want to put yourself in the best predicament, but there are situations in which that don't matter. Like,
I
if you got
the best.
Okay. It's probably a really crazy thing, but like, there, as a person that up and left their job, granted, you know, engineering allows you a certain lifestyle. I remember when I was newly married, I'll be very brief about this because it's not necessarily about this part, but we had just got married and the job was, your first 4 rotations were cool, but I haven't seen another for you personally. So I want you with a 5th rotation. I'm just like, I helped y'all solve a 10-year-old issue. I'm out here. I'm done. I'm good. I'm gone. I'm cool. I'm figuring it out when I get home. I had no savings. I had nothing. I was just like, we gone.
Yeah.
And that was scary. That can be scary, but it turned out all right. I put it that way.
Yeah.
Turned out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely went in on a Friday night, packed up, told my husband come in and get all my stuff off my computer.
Yo.
Come on, log this in. By the time they came in Monday morning, they were like, where's Raquel? She got, here's my letter sitting nice, typed out and folded on my keyboard. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? It is, and you definitely have to, you know, I mean, if you have a significant other, obviously it's easier, you know, than being single, you solo dolo, you like,
Oh, yeah, that,
you know. So
save your money. You can do
right.
it still.
So
Save your money.
100%. But I mean, it's different when you have a spouse versus if you don't, for sure. So
true.
Amen.
So my second thing that I wanted to talk about too is, well, first of all, I want to loop back to imposter syndrome, because that might be something that people suffer from a lot of. And I think that you have to think about, and why, you know, when you were talking about therapy, but I think that one of the things you have to examine, where did you learn this behavior? Like, where did you learn this thought process? Where did you learn that you may not be good enough for the job? What is this programming? How did you receive it? And you have to kind of examine that. You have to take time to break down the issues and the feelings, why you feel this way. Why don't you demand more? I feel I didn't really suffer from that, but I also had a dad that's like, I received a lot of programming of like, be confident. Well, first of all, in my house, if you weren't, you were going to get, I had two other brothers. And if I didn't learn how to speak up, if I didn't learn how to talk, then I would be drowned out. So that was one of the things that I learned how to talk about. So I think that's one of the things that you have to learn to examine is, how did you receive that programming? Where does this really come from? So that's what I think that it'll be good to maybe tell some of the people on your channel too, to examine, where did they receive that programming? How did it come across to you? Why do you believe that about yourself? You know, especially when you know that you went to school, especially when you know you did well, especially when you know that you're smart. Why is it that I have to take less? You know, what is this about?
yeah.
I wanted to talk about anger as being a mental health thing. Now, this is something I struggle with, and I know probably Black men struggle with that a lot. About that, is that something that you struggle with, having to learn to deal with issues of anger, suppressing your feelings and emotions? Is that something that you had to deal with?
It was. I think for me, it's, you know, the whole angry Black man thing is a true experience. I think that, you know, depending on where you grew up at, et cetera, it probably is amplified more than others. For me, it was understanding why I was so damn angry to begin with.
Yeah.
And I didn't really unpack some of that, of how to handle it, until I started therapy in 2020. And before that, I just, again, shout out to my amazing wife that always kept me honest and accountable. Then when we first started dating, I was raising my voice because I didn't agree with the situation. And I kid you not, this is the true story. She said, "Oh," she disappeared for a second. She came back with a knife and she was just like, "What'd you say?" I was like, "Oh, snap." Like, whoa, what's going on? But growing up, I watched my dad express himself in the passionate manner, in which sounded like he was angry, right? So I learned that, and then I unlearned that when she brought the blade out. You know, since then, you know, I would say shout out to just Black women in general, because sometimes there are spaces that they say that no one understands a Black man as much as a Black woman. And she allowed me times to just get it out, just say what's going on. And eventually she's like, "Well, you should probably go to therapy." And I was like, "I'm gonna go to therapy, go find a therapist." Yeah. And then it did. My first little Google search didn't work. And I was like, I tried. It didn't work, right? And then 2020 happened. This is why I say all Black men should go talk to someone that's a therapist or a life counselor or something. Yeah. I remember 2020 because I think back to the worst nap I ever took with Kobe Bryant. I remember taking an early morning nap and waking up, and she was like, "Oh no, that's real. Kobe passed." I was like, "Wait, what? So there was that. There was COVID-19. There was seeing people all around us just falling.
Yeah.
There was Chadwick Boseman, long live the king. Just a bunch of different things, and I was just like, I need to talk. And then for me, it was still the compounded issue of my mother's illness, and I'm just like, I need to talk to somebody. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I thought I knew what I was doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And you know, from an anger standpoint, I was always angry about those things. And ultimately, after going to therapy, my therapist helped me kind of realize, trying to unpack why you feel a certain way. Why were you angry with your father about, like, just his whole situation? Why were you angry at your mother? Why were you angry about this? Like, getting down to the whys, like doing a root cause analysis, if you will.
That's right. And
once you actually understand the why, then you can say, oh, this is why my feelings off right now. This is why I'm not on my square right now. And And once I was able to do that for me anyway, it just helped me not, if I had a feeling of anger, I was able to help dissipate that sooner and like very quickly versus what I used to. It would just fester for a couple of days and I'd be, ready to throw a bowling ball down the bowling lane, which helps, right? But, just making sure you have an outlet to get it out.
Yeah. I think also the good thing, I too have been through counseling. I actually miss my counselor, but it's one thing I love about counseling is it does get you, like I said, to acknowledge like some things you literally probably would have never noticed or thought about until somebody was like, well, what about this? And then you're like, what? And you're like, dang, that is true, and then pieces of the puzzle start to come together, you know what I'm saying? And you're kind of like, yeah, that does make sense. So when that situation, like you said, it happens again, normally maybe you would have popped off, right? But now somebody has raised like that awareness in you. Now you're kind of like, oh, wait, you know what? This is like that moment my counselor was talking about. So let me react like this and versus like that. And let me see. And then when you do what the counselor said, then you like, that was actually a better response to the other person. And this is a better situation. Like, we not over here arguing for 5 hours. We only argue for 30 minutes, whatever. So it's it's the reaction, you know what I'm saying? That is, I think, is like the biggest piece. Because I'm still a work in progress. I will pop off, right? Like, but not to everything. It's probably more so in my household because I have such high expectations, in my household versus I may in a professional setting, I may deal with dumbness all the time. But in my household, I'm like, no, like, why are we doing this? You know me. So why would you do this? These people don't know me. It's so important. And you don't have to be depressed, mad, sad, or anything to get help. Help does not mean I don't want to say help. I should say to get healthy or to get healthier, right? Because ultimately that's what you're doing is you're training your brain to be healthier, right? The same way you want your body to physically be healthier. I'm going to the gym, I'm eating better, I'm getting rid of sugars, I don't want to do that. You want to do the same thing for your brain, is these different exercises, these different movements or whatever to make you think and feel better. And then guess what? It goes all the way down throughout your whole body. You know what I'm saying? When you mentally getting yourself together, like Jarrell, you probably felt like a whole different vibe when you finally got into that other job. You didn't have all the other stuff. Now it's like my body feel better. I don't have these aches. I thought I was having a heart attack. My back was hurting. My toes, like it's a whole, like you become like a hypochondriac sometimes when you got issues, You
can. You don't realize what that stress is doing to you. Yeah.
Yes, it can kill you. So, and especially us Black females and Black males, we already have, higher risk everything, right? Heart, head, stroke, blood pressure, cholesterol, even, skin cancer is creeping up. lung cancer, prostate cancer. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, you know. So, but Jarrell, I wanted to kind of ask you the same question. You're in therapy now, or you were previously in therapy?
I was in therapy from the end of 2022 until this past January. So
Mm.
about a year and a couple months. Yep.
How did that work for you, and what have you learned from being in therapy?
So I was in therapy a little bit with my anger as well. And what I found out was that what my therapist told me was that my anger stemmed from me feeling as if my voice wasn't being heard in most of the situations in my life. It stemmed all the way back to me being in high school. So the specific high school I went to, because she made me lay out my whole life story when I went to her the first time. And it was just like, hey, I picked this high school, ended up not liking it, tried to get kicked out multiple times. Um,
Wait,
and
what?
then
You tried to get kicked out?
I tried to get kicked out. I got caught cheating on two different tests. It was on an English test and on a French test. I got caught cheating, and it happened probably like within 5 days of each other, right?
What?
So and both teachers were just like, "This is not your character. We're not going to take this to the dean of students. Like, you're just
What?
going to get a 0 on this test and the next test, and we'll call it even." And
What?
and then
Oh,
they told my parents at like parent teacher conference, like the next parent teacher conference, and my mom was heated, and I just told my mom, like, I told you I don't want to be in the school anymore. I want to go to a different school. But of course, like the way the story progressed, I stayed at that school.
Mhm.
And so there were other situations, as a teenager where I just felt like my voice wasn't being heard, apparently. And that followed into like adulthood a little bit. And we ended up like telling her, like I said, my life story and the way that the men around me moved. Like my grandfather was very strong and stern. Spent a lot of time with him growing up after school. He was like the main, like him and my grandmother were like the primary people that my sister and I stayed with where our parents were at work. So I have a lot of his like Georgia sternness, like his like
Yeah.
he was born like in 1920, so he doesn't take like any type of nonsense at all. So I found out I have like a lot of like his mannerisms to the point where like if he the way my grandfather used to operate was just like if he said something like that was law, and if
Mm-hmm.
you didn't agree with that, then you can't be around here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I have a little bit of that where it's like when I speak, it's because I'm meaning what I say. Like I rarely speak to just speak nonsense.
Yeah.
I rarely speak to just fill the air with words. It's like what I'm saying is like detrimental to the situation, and if you're not on board with that, or if there's a situation where you want to do like a counterproductive type of thing, it's just like, no, we can't do that here. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like what my therapist told me is like a lot of my anger comes from like me feeling as if my voice wasn't being heard. So she gave me different exercises to practice with my wife with, as far as just like how to get my point across, because she
Yeah.
said listening to me, she felt like there were times where I would let things slide because I didn't know how to properly communicate them.
Yes.
So she gave me the tools to like learn how to properly communicate, which words to use, and also how she explained to me how unhealthy it was to just let things slide for like the sake of peace, because that in that moment it might be peaceful, but 2 or 3 months later, that peace that I had within has turned into resentment and it's turned into more anger. So she gave me the tools to like recognize that. And like I said, I was with her for about close to 15 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at least like bi-weekly, we were having meetings about like my anger, and she was giving me the tools on how to be better. So that's what therapy did for me. It
That's a good therapist, y'all. Applause to that therapist. I'm like, that's a good therapist. When I hear she gave me tools, she gave me homework, I'm like, ding, 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 ding.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I've even had, I put all my kids in counseling except for the youngest one, but especially during COVID, because my oldest was graduating. He didn't have prom, he didn't have graduation, he couldn't go to college. And I was like, imagine going 18 years to get to this point of going to prom, graduation. Luckily, he finished school, and it's yanked from you. You know what I'm saying? And then my other child was going into middle school, couldn't go to middle school, couldn't do, So I wanted to make sure, like, all my kids, so I put everybody in counseling, right? But I knew when one of the counselors for one of the kids was not a good counselor. You know what I'm saying? So you got to shop around, y'all, because I was like, okay, are we going, especially as a parent, if you have a child in counseling, there are rules, right, where clearly they're not going to discuss many, many things. But at the same time, you still have to be able to communicate with the counselor, maybe what you're feeling, what you're going on, or to understand how is my child doing. And then they should be giving you tools, like he said, it's homework. He took it home to his wife. These people should be bringing it to their parents or parent, for them to continue to work on it. It's not for me to be sitting in there just so you can bill me for 55 minutes of just talking about nothing. And then the next time you talking about, so what did you do at school? You know what I'm saying? Like that type of stuff. So when I hear that, I applaud that. And I can guarantee that's probably the reason why you stuck with her for 15 months. You know what I'm saying? Because she was giving you something to use. But I wanted to transition because we're talking about mental health, but they both have a positive situation that I think has brought them. Look at the smiles coming up. Oh my gosh. I should screenshot this. Look, they blushing. Oh. So they are new fathers. They're daddies. Congratulations. They are new fathers. That's so, like, look at them cheesing. That means that's a good thing, y'all. Like that. Look at the serotonin just.
See, it's two thoughts in my head, and Jarrell is a victim of this, and he lets me do and say what I want at times, and I'm like, you should never do that. Well, one is a very, very heartfelt thing that to be a father, because I'm like, there was a point in time where I did not think that was a possibility for me. Just, doctors and crap, but their diagnoses are in bull crap. But then the other part was, I saw this on social media, and I'm just like, y'all are wild people. Ultimately, when it's like you have a kid, that ultimately means that you was out here doing stuff that you wouldn't be talking about in church. So I was like, congratulations. I'm like,
what?
Thanks. How did you go there? What? I mean, it's a natural part of life. It's a natural part of life.
No, granted, yes, but like in my head, the back of my head, I was up in here like, you was having the sex. I was like,
that's right.
Look, our grandmother is almost 102, and as of this week, I think she's talking about sex. Where I'm like, Granny, you almost 102. At this point, if you can't say sex, it's a whole problem. And you got 3 kids.
I'm just keeping it.
She said it to me.
I'm gonna keep it G-rated because I'm here with y'all. But yes,
this 50
it's very hilarious because I'm like, you was out here getting it in. It's like, don't deny that. I mean, here you go.
But I mean, y'all married, so I hope y'all getting it in or something. We got that's a whole nother podcast.
There we go. Moving on.
The married one's not getting it in. I mean, hey, look, I ain't married. Anyway, go ahead.
I love my wife, man. I love my life. I love my wife, man.
All right, so Jarrell, I know you have the oldest baby, so tell us a little bit about when your baby was born. Is it a boy or a girl? Tell us a little bit about this experience.
So we have a girl. She's 7 months old. Her name is Savannah, and it's kind of like a nod to like my mom's side of the family because they all come from Savannah, Georgia. So it's kind of like a nice little like nod to them. And I just love the name. I asked my wife because we were trying to figure out, what do we want to name her. My wife had something in mind. I had something else in mind, and then I just, presented that to her. She was like, "Oh yeah, I like that first name with this middle name," and so it all went together. But the process of like going through the pregnancy of my wife, I had like a lot of like patience that like I didn't know I had previously.
Really?
And then yeah, because I mean there were times where like not that she was doing like anything wrong or nothing like that, but just the point that like I had to like look within myself and then like do more. And I didn't know I was capable of like doing like all the more that needed to be done. But but at the same time, it wasn't like I was looking at like, oh, wow, I have to do all of this. It was just more so like, just do it, like the whole like Nike thing. So, I mean, like, I was getting up every morning, like making her like breakfast and lunch to take to work.
All
Um,
right. We
like
love to hear it.
I found myself cooking a lot more, doing laundry a lot more, emptying the dishwasher, loading the dishwasher. And it got to a point where it was funny because before she was pregnant, it's like the way that I would load the dishwasher was kind of like, why would you load the dishwasher like that? Like, the cups go over here, the knives go over here. But it was like, it got to a point where she was just like, I'm so fatigued from being pregnant. Like, it don't matter how you load that dishwasher, just run it. Like, make sure the dishes get washed so I can have lunch containers for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then, we ended up finding ourselves like having to like trying to exercise more, trying to make sure that she was getting like the right amount of fiber, all those different things. So that took like a different level of like, I guess like maturity and just like wherewithal to just try to get all of that done. And then we were still doing therapy together, so we still had to make time for that. So just the whole journey, it was it was it was it was different. Like before we started the journey, I didn't know all of that was going to take place. I didn't know what to expect. But it's like I just ended up moving as like the goalpost was moving. So
how was your, and I'm gonna get to you, Richard, in a minute, but I want to know, so Jarrell, when your baby girl was born, what was like the first thing that crossed your mind?
that's the thing. I don't even think I was thinking. I was just staring at her. Like I didn't even have a thought. I was just like, I'm recording as much of this as I can to make sure I can rewatch it later. And then my mother-in-law, she was there in the room present. She was recording. Um and I remember just like my mother-in-law was actually the one that was sending out the messages to like all of the sisters. So my wife has four sisters. So she was sending all the messages to her daughters. Um, After maybe Savannah was here for like 12 to 15 minutes, that's when I started texting other people like, oh, she's here. And then FaceTime my mom and dad to see their first grandbaby. Because that was the crazy part too. Because I shouldn't say crazy. It was, I don't know what the word is. I can't think straight right now. But she was born on their wedding anniversary, my parents' wedding anniversary. So that was
Oh, that's so
like,
cute.
yeah, that was like a like an anniversary gift for them. I think that was like their 38th year of marriage or 37th year of marriage, and they got a grandbaby. So
When is
yeah,
her
I
birthday?
honestly September 27th.
That's my mom's birthday.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
My youngest is 9/24, and my mom is 9/27. My uncle is 9/26. Another one is 9/25. But yeah, my mom is 9/27. That's
Okay,
so
that's a
dope.
good
I
date.
love it. Libras.
That
Yep,
that
yep.
sounds like a very expensive week. Jesus Christ.
That's awesome. All right. And then Richard, so tell us about your baby. I know you have the youngest. Is it a boy or a girl? And how old?
So Marley, she is 2 days away from being a month old.
Wow.
Yeah,
Baby.
she's a baby. Yes, there you go. She's in her sleep all day, party all night phase. Yes, very crazy. In fact, I woke up on that to be here with y'all. So big ups to y'all here. But yeah, it's still surreal. I'm still kind of like, wow, guys, you really asked me to be somebody's. Well, you told me to be somebody's dad. That's crazy. But
Yeah.
I just look at it as a blessing, if you will, of being able to call myself a father. So I'm gonna do this until I have no more breath in my body. I was gonna shout out to my wife for a month after delivering a whole child, finishing her MBA. I'm like, how is this possible? You are truly either a Super Saiyan, you are from Wakanda, and something. I don't know how you pulled this off, but I think one of the craziest things was just kind of watching her operate over the last like 10 months in terms of finding out we were pregnant to, how she stayed the course and, passed out halfway time because she was sleepy, but also woke back up and got right back to it. All the way down to one of her biggest anxieties was, wait, I gotta push a kid out of me? Oh no, hell no. And I remember, according to the health classes, they say they're supposed to like come in, they're supposed to twist and do this whole pull out by the shoulder thing with the baby all the crap. No, that didn't happen. This is why I say my wife.
It didn't happen. Okay.
That's why I say my wife is truly from Wakanda. She's a part of she's the predecessor to the Dora Milaje. We need the origin story. And she literally, I kid you not, I'm not making this up. It was a period of time where she was pushing, and she got over it. She just pushed that one good time. And the doctor had to, like, the OB literally had to, like, catch Omar, like, oh. And I'm just sitting here, like, I'm like the only guy in the room. The room is full. My sister is there. She's recorded everything, and not like that part because, HIPAA. But so I was just sitting here like, oh shit, like, yo.
He was like, whoa.
You know what? See
that? Catch her.
Like, that was like a very humorous day. Well, like, I was just sitting there like, oh shit, like.
That means don't you ever make that woman mad. Don't ever make her mad. Yes. It's a whole different.
You heard me say one of our first arguments from like 14 years ago. She pulled out a knife.
Okay? She's not playing. She means business.
That was probably the precursor to the staff thing.
I love it.
Excuse me. Oh my God. But being a new parent, what have you guys learned so far about yourself that you like never knew? Have you learned anything about yourself having this brand new baby girl to where you're like, wow. Or maybe you developed something new that you didn't know you had in you.
I'm going to defer to Jarrell because I'm still learning and I might come up with something after he speaks, but he got 6 months up on me.
Deprived.
Yeah. I'm still waking up.
Right.
I would say like I don't think I've ever like been so selfless or like so loving of like a human being until she got here. I thought I was selfless. I thought I was, all of the good things that people want to be, but there were times where, like my wife would because my wife had 4 months off of work right after she had her maternity leave for like about 4 months. So my wife would, have her the whole day, and then I would get home, and she would want to be up at like 2 a.m. The baby would want to be up like at 2 a.m, and I would just say like, "Hey, I'm going to take her at certain times and just be up with her for an hour until she decided to go back to sleep." A lot of times my wife was very selfless as well. Like she was just like, "You're already going back to work while I still have another, 3.5 months off, so you don't have to be up with her. I'll take that and bite that bullet." So. I would say it kind of evolved from me being like the just do it attitude from the pregnancy, like switching over from doing everything for my wife to doing everything for the baby. Because it's like there were times where before having a baby, I would just play the video game. I would go, hang out with friends if they invited me, like those type of things. And it's just like I have like no desire to do that type of stuff if my baby needs me, Mm-hmm. So I would say like I've learned like the priority of taking care of a child, like putting the child before me. And it sounds simple, but I've seen so many bad examples of it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, yeah, like I didn't think it was going to be such a big deal. Like I always wanted to be a father, so it's just like, yeah, of course I'll put my baby's needs before me. But then actually doing it, it's just like, oh, okay, it is different, So
y'all changing diapers and everything. Y'all feed.
Oh yeah,
changing diapers. Were y'all scared? Richard, were you scared? Like, oh my gosh, she's so little. Like, I'm scared I'm gonna break her legs or something. Were you super scared?
So, I'm gonna start by saying no.
Okay.
So the beautiful thing about Jarrell and his wife having their little one, who's my goddaughter, them having their child before we had ours, is that I got to get all the initial like, oh my God, you're so little, I'm gonna break you, oh no, out of the way. And I just one of the things I can say I developed was probably more of a hands-on attitude. Before Amara was born, I had never changed a diaper in my whole life. Like, and so day one, like the next morning after we woke up, they was like, you gotta check the diaper, you gotta do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, yeah, I could check. You know what? I'm gonna check a diaper. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And I ripped the diaper and I was like, I guess I gotta change this diaper now. And that was my first ever diaper change. And I probably averaged like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 diaper changes for myself a day, only because thankfully we have our ecosystem people we got. But I would say one thing that's helped me is just being all in. And no matter what the need is, I would just, like Jarrell mentioned, is just being all about my daughter, making sure my wife is good. So like even today, one of the biggest things is about routine. You know, it was agreed that since I can't take parental leave until July, that, you know, at night, my wife would take, make sure our daughter's good. And there's already been times where that didn't happen because Elena was so exhausted between finishing her degree and doing stuff for a sorority, which is, I'm like, girl, they don't expect you to do nothing. What are you doing? I would just help facilitate what that would look like. So whether that be either, me taking her upstairs with me, have her sleep around me instead, and making sure she got her diaper changes, bottles, all that good jazz, to the point where I'm like, all right, listen, Elena was up all night. I'm gonna call mom. I'm gonna call mom. I'm gonna call sister to be like, in the morning, can y'all come over here and let Elena sleep the morning away? Do whatever she gonna do to rest up. Give us the rest she needs while I work, because I can't. It's physically impossible. And they're like, let me grab my computer real quick, you know what I'm saying, and just like pull up or turn on YouTube and just rock her and hold her all freaking morning and day. So I mean, just thankful for the sense of community and everything down to like bringing meals over and like in crazy varieties, like, between Jarrell and his wife to other people, just spoiling us with like all the things. It's just like, we don't need for much.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned is one thing I've been reaffirmed is your ecosystem is your strongest asset. So you want to pour into them as much as you take from them. And if I did not have those ecosystems, I have no idea where I would be. Right. But
I literally just had that conversation, Richard, right before I got on this call. Someone I know that is expecting a child, and the conversation was, they're like, but this is my baby, and this and this and this, and I was like, listen, okay, let me pre-warn you. We know whose baby it is, but be careful what you say, because that can backfire. You know what I'm saying? Because what you don't want is, like you said, when you have, and I was a single mother for 5 years, Talia went through it, you know what I'm saying, raised a dope child, but then I also have 17 years being married, right? And it's night and day. You know what I'm saying? Like, being the only one to do everything. You know what I'm saying? When the child's sick, crapping up the wall, whatever the heck is going on, you know what I'm saying? Throwing, little boys pee everywhere, I mean, it's especially, as a newborn, they have that different kind of bowel movement, right? It's a whole different thing. And you're exhausted. So I applaud you guys, one, for acknowledging and supporting your wife, right? Because a lot of people think you can just pop back from birth, but I'm like, but you're raising a human. You know what I'm saying? It's already one superhero move to push the child out, or even if you get a C-section, right? C-section is actually worse than delivering, right? The recovery is a whole different ball game. And yes, things have gotten better with technology and, you know, science and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like, our bodies go through hell. Our hormones are all over. The most painful thing that I experienced outside of the delivery, I didn't do with my last one. I didn't do any drugs with the last one. I was like, we're gonna knock this out. Actually, the last two. But the most painful thing that I went through, and my husband was like on my side trying to hold me down, was when they came in and they tried to push your guts out. Felt like they were like massaging your stomach to kind of make sure everything was out. I was like, okay, hold on, this is the third kid. I don't know what this is. And she's like, we got to get this out. It actually helps it contract back or whatever. And I was on the edge of the bed. My husband was like, it was like going through labor again. Mm-hmm. But I applaud you guys because emotionally, right, a female and a male, but we go through a lot. So I keep hearing you guys say, taking care of the baby, taking care of my wife, the baby. I applaud that. And I literally just told Talia before I got on here, I said, this generation of fathers are so different in a good way than the generation we grew up with. And I wanted to acknowledge that tonight. And I didn't even know Jarrell, but because I'm learning Richard more, I know he ain't gonna hang around with no scrubs. So, so we wouldn't have him on here. And if I did, it probably would be a viral episode. But but I just wanted to acknowledge and to let it be shown that in the Black community, right, we do have dope fathers. We do have dope husbands. You know, we do have dope boyfriends. You know, but because a lot of Black men, they don't really have that many places to go to hear about how to be a good dad. Because the only thing we keep hearing about is how I had a bad dad raise me, or I had no dad raise me. We barely ever hear, I mean, we hear it. It's not as consistent and frequent where we hear about someone saying, I took my wife, you know, let my wife sleep. I made sure she was good. I got up and fed my wife breakfast every single day. I did this. I called my mother-in-law or my father-in-law or whomever it was to come and make sure my wife was resting. I understood that. I mean, because you have to understand, like our grandparents, y'all know, they expected the mother, the wife to do everything. They ain't care if she popped out 5 kids. I want to come home to food. I want the house clean. I want this. And I applaud them too. But we are at a different time where it is so much easier on both parents or both spouse and the other spouse for people to tag team. And what I heard is you guys both are enjoying it a lot more because you're creating or you have created schedules, which that was one of my biggest things was...
Time out, pause.
Yeah.
I ain't created no schedule yet. I'm trying to figure out that schedule.
I'm hearing you. You know what I'm saying? Jarrell, my line, he's coming up with a little schedule to where he's like, you know, I do this, my wife sleeps, I do that. You know what I'm saying? Even though you say like, oh, she's at home, whatever. It'll get.
He said he got to keep it real.
Yeah. It's 30 days. She ain't got no schedule yet. But I'm saying you guys are acknowledging each other. That's what I mean by a schedule. Your baby ain't got no schedule yet. No. She gonna be all on every 2 hours, every hour and a half. Where's my food? Where's my food? But
that was the worst.
Yeah, that. Well, I mean, I definitely, we're here for you. If you do have any questions, we are so grateful and we're so happy that you guys are here. Please, I definitely want everyone to find a counselor. You know, a therapist. If you feel like you need a psychiatrist, then do so. You know, some people do. Like, you're aware of that. You know, when you feel like, you know, something's not right. But I also would say make sure you get an actual physical exam. Because a lot of times people don't realize it's not a mental thing. It could truly be a physical thing. So just making sure that you go to your primary care physician or OBGYN or whatever you need to see to get a full body blood work and everything. And then you can get and see like, okay, it is a mental or an emotional or spiritual thing or whatever. So, but I thank you guys for being on here to highlight how dope it is to hear dope Black fathers and And they're in, and I know, so both of you guys are engineers, right?
Yes.
All right. That is a rare. I love that. Yeah, okay, Black Leo. I love it. So wait, Jarrell, what kind of engineer are you?
Industrial engineer.
IE. Okay. Richard.
Mechanical engineer.
Emmy. Okay. I love it. That's dope. That's so. I
That works
applaud
in
you
civil. That works in the civil industry. That's just crazy. But forget about it. Never mind.
So, any words of advice that you want to give both Black men who are looking for a therapist or who are on the fence about it, and then two, new fathers? Richard, you're last. Jarrell, go first.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
I would say seeking a therapist. I think we touched on it earlier. Like, like you have to find the right fit for you. So don't make it a thing where you think it's just like a one, like a shoe where like you're just gonna get your size and it fits. There are different intricacies. Male, female, black, white, different ethnicities. There are different factors that play into finding the right person for you. So once you find the fit, you'll know it though, because you'll be comfortable. You'll actually start feeling like someone's hearing you. At least for me, I felt like someone was hearing me. Someone was giving me the tools to become better, and I actually started seeing like changes within myself. And even my wife would tell me the same thing, that like you're behaving this way compared to how you used to do it. So I think those changes will be evident. Um, the second part, you said, any advice for new fathers? I would just say, um, take. I always tell people I take it one diaper change at a time. Like just breathe. Whatever is requested of you to be done, or if you see that something needs to be done, don't wait for it to be requested. Just do it. But as you're doing it, make sure as you're doing it, make sure that you're asking that, is it up to mom's standards, because that's the one thing that I learned. Like I could do it, but her standard is different from my standard. I have to make sure that I'm cleaning the bottles the way that she wants them clean, making sure I'm putting the right ounces in them the way that she wants them put. So just make sure that you're doing that check in with mom.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Watch how much, don't be giving the baby cereal at like 30, 60, 90 days. Please don't do that, okay? Leave the cereal alone. We don't need, y'all can cause some major issues in the bowels of these babies, okay? All right, please stop. Let that stay in the baby boomer stage, okay? We don't need that at this point, all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, Richard.
Like you throwing shots, and I don't want to get hit with a straight.
I'm just saying, like, but all right, tell us about advice for a male that is out there trying to consider, should I go see a therapist or whatever, and then also advice for brand new fathers or soon to be fathers.
From a therapy standpoint, treat it as if you are welcoming them into your family. This is a relationship. This is somebody that's possibly going to be in your life for a couple of days or a season, or possibly somebody's going to be in your life for a lifetime or somewhere in between. So with the same intentionality that you have for picking dating partners, for picking you should be using to pick your doctors, if you will. I remember when my wife ended up finding both of our primary care physicians was the same person. She said, I want somebody that is educated, and then also they look like when the beat dropped for from the 99 to the 2000s that they're gonna bust out in the twerk. So find somebody that you believe. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you want to pick somebody that is relatable to you in terms of you feel like it's going to advocate for you culturally and medically, etc. And the counselor or therapist is no different. I call my my therapist uncle from time to time. I can just text him like, "Uncle, what's going on?" He'd be like, "Hey, what's up, nephew?" And that's just a relationship we have now. So pick somebody that you have that comfort. And if the first person's wrong, I mean, listen, this may not be a good fit for you, and that's cool. It's okay.
Yeah.
But you got to pay them. So make sure start paying them.
Yes.
And that
don't
you're
let
getting
nobody just take your check, y'all. Please don't. No.
I don't believe in just giving somebody my money. I work hard for it. For new fathers out there, soon to be dads, you're not going to get everything right. You're going to have some missteps. And my wife uses this a lot with me, and I'm just going to keep throwing her gems out there, and I don't care. Give yourself in a situation that you're in grace. Because if you're a new father or a new parent to be, you probably don't have no idea what the hell you're doing. And everybody is telling you should watch this, you should do that, and then it works for me. It's like, find what works for you, give yourself grace in this whole journey, and be prepared to just be all in. Because you may need to do some things that you probably don't feel comfortable doing. Like for me, again, I never changed a diaper. Now I'm changing the diaper of a little girl. And it's like, holy crap. Oh my God. What's going on?
Welcome.
Right. Jump on in. Come on. And to me, just being willing to jump in early means you'll probably be more prepared to jump in when you need to.
Yes.
So it's kind of a preparation, if you will, for this long 18 plus year journey that you're going to be on of raising a young person, especially if you're a girl dad like us.
Yeah.
You know,
girl dad.
Forever. It's forever.
Listen,
it's forever.
Exactly, you're right. Plus. 18 years, my foot.
It's like, forever, really, because you never really, you still, you care. You might not be, they might not be in your house anymore, but you calling them, you checking on, you giving advice. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's a forever thing.
Be prepared to be all in. And I know for me this last 30 days, I seen that communication was a definite plus, because we used to communicate. One of the biggest things was make sure you communicate with your significant other.
Yeah.
But that level of communication, if you're all in, intensifies. Like you communicate everything up front. You make sure you're not stepping on eggshells. It's like, this is why I'm asking this question. It's not with this intent. I want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about. It's a lot of that receive message, sent message situation to make sure you understand what I'm saying. Because I don't want, especially in this fragile time frame I don't want any misunderstanding about what I'm thinking about and how I'm communicating it. So, if you take any of those things into consideration, I think you'll be okay.
All right. Talia, do you have any advice for these brand new fathers raising these beautiful little girls? She said no.
No. Nope. I think they're doing a great job. And take it on home.
The only advice the only advice I wanted to say is cherish literally almost every single moment you can. And I literally mean that, because having an older child, like you blink. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like I blinked. I had mine my last one right before COVID. He's 4. And I'm like emotional because he's going into kindergarten next year. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So I literally had one graduating and was about to give birth to another one. And then I had another one in middle school. Then I had another one still in high school. So you just look up and you're like, man, this one's in driver's training. This one's potty trained. This one's having a full-blown conversation. So take as many pictures and videos, and the good thing is you guys are raising a child in the digital era. You know what I'm saying? But still print out some. Print them out so that, that child, even as they're little, they can still see it, I'm a huge advocate for just making sure that you take time to, especially with the little girls, right? Showing them when they get of age how a man should treat a female. You know what I'm saying? So take your daughter on dates. Have real conversations, with her. And when and in the event that you guys get into an argument, try your hardest not to have it around your child. Let's take this to the other room or something. Let's wait till they go to sleep. Then we gonna go to the basement and we gonna just you know what I'm saying? Like, but still let them see you guys having discussions. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all learning communication and stuff. So, and the only other thing is make sure you guys choose good pediatricians. For any new fathers, y'all gotta choose the right pediatricians. Make sure they wash their hands. You guys should have separate wellness and sick rooms, okay? Don't have everybody in like this cesspool. Like everybody, whether you're sick or not, everybody in the cesspool.
I got one last thing and I'm done. Fellas, make sure you're still taking care of yourself.
Yes. Self-care.
I know when I thought you were going to get into it, I'm surprised I didn't. You know, we talked a lot about being providers for the young ones, for the wife, etc. You are still responsible for your own health, mental, physical, spiritual, financial health. It's not to put pressure on you, but you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's one of the things that I get reminded of like every other day is you drinking this water, you doing X, Y, and Z, you take a nap, you just so on, blah, blah, blah. You need to be able to pour from a cup that has something in it. Yeah. And if you never pour into yourself, then how the heck can you help do something else?
Mm-hmm. So and he ain't talking about pouring vodka, y'all, into the cup. That ain't what he's talking
about. See, first off, vodka is trash, but I mean, that's another conversation. But no, you got to pour into yourself. You got to make sure that you're good and staying hydrated and moisturizing and getting that shower in. And then the same way you want your significant other to make sure that she's good and get her shower in and moisturize all the jazz. You got to do it for yourself, fellas. And it doesn't make you more feminine if you go get that pedicure with her. I'm just saying, just treat yourself. You deserve it. You need to because your feet probably hurt running around all day.
I love that.
Take good care of yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's super important because you got to be there for these babies. Mm-hmm. So and for yourself and for everything else. So, but we applaud you guys again. The website is right here, right below. Give us your handles and everything one more time.
Most definitely. So, Mental Matters Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter. What you talking about? Instagram and TikTok. Look for Mental Matters Podcast. No, yeah, all right. Big up to DMX. We can be found on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you stream your podcast. We are trying to be there. YouTube coming soon once Cuzzo over here helps your boy out. But yeah, just tap in. Hopefully something you hear resonates with you and you can tune in for more. And we have merch. So get some merch. I don't have it on because I woke up from a nap. I woke up like this literally. But we do have merchandise as well for purchase. So anything you purchase supports the podcast. So yeah.
It. Awesome. And if you guys want to be a guest or you want to just chit chat with us or what else tell you? You want to tell us some crazy stories or anything dealing with life, that's why we are here. So please do email us at 50shadesoflife@gmail.com. That's 50SHA8DES of life@gmail.com. You guys, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned. We definitely gonna have these brothers back on here because I enjoyed this conversation. We didn't know which way we were gonna go, y'all. We were like, what we gonna talk about? We gonna talk about this. We gonna talk about. But I had confidence in the squad. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they'll have us on his podcast one day. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but, I'll bust up in there and talk about something. But
it's happening. I don't know why you're acting all crazy. You know it's going to happen.
All right, what's up? All right, cool. So we will holler at you guys later. You guys have a great night. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll holler at you later. Deuces.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
My own black business, running up these dishes, fresher than them dishes.
Tell your grant your wishes, I'm a tarot reading witness.
Yeah. 5-0. Yeah. 50.
Welcome to 50 Shades of Life.